You've been told fruit is healthy, right? But what if I told you some fruits are silently destroying your blood sugar? Worse than a can of soda? As a diabetic, or someone trying to avoid diabetes, you've probably worked hard, cutting out junk food, watching your carbs, maybe even skipping dessert. But despite your efforts, your sugar keeps climbing. You feel tired, frustrated, and confused. And the worst part? You might be doing everything right except for one thing: eating the wrong fruits. But here's the good news. Once you know exactly which fruits are spiking your glucose, you can avoid them, make smarter swaps, and finally take back control of your blood sugar, naturally. In this video, I'll walk you through the 10 worst fruits that spike blood sugar fast, some of which may surprise you. I'll explain why they're harmful, what they do to your insulin levels, and most importantly, what you can eat instead to stay full, satisfied, and in control. I'm here to help you cut through the confusion with real, honest, and science-backed advice, just like I've done for thousands of others looking to reverse insulin resistance and take back their energy. If you've been misled for years, it's not your fault, but it's time to change that. So grab a pen or take notes, because here comes the truth. The countdown to the worst blood sugar spiking fruits starts right now. And fruit number 10 might already be on your plate today. Number 10. Raisins. We're starting the list with a fruit that most people never suspect. Raisins. Tiny, sweet, and often found in cereals, oatmeal, trail mix, and even salads, raisins carry a healthy label. But here's the catch. They're one of the sneakiest causes of blood sugar spikes. Why? Because raisins are essentially dehydrated grapes, and when you remove the water, what's left behind is a concentrated form of natural sugar. That means in a small handful of raisins, you're getting a sugar load similar to a chocolate bar. Yes, you heard that right. Despite coming from fruit, their glycemic index shoots up, meaning they digest fast and slam your bloodstream with glucose almost immediately. This sudden spike forces your pancreas to pump out a huge burst of insulin to deal with the sugar. And if you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, or insulin resistant, that spike is followed by an ugly crash, making you feel tired, irritable, foggy-headed, and, worst of all, craving even more sugar just a short time later. It becomes a trap. One small box of raisins may seem like a smart snack, but in reality it's fueling the blood sugar roller coaster, a ride you never wanted to be on. And over time, this roller coaster isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Constant highs and lows in your glucose levels wear down your insulin sensitivity, strain your pancreas, and contribute to belly fat, fatigue, and inflammation. Emotionally, this feels unfair. You're trying to eat better, right? Choosing raisins over candy, picking fruit instead of cookies. But the truth is, not all fruits are created equal. And raisins, though natural, behave more like sugar than fruit once they're dried. And that realization can feel frustrating. You want to eat smart, but you don't want to feel punished every time you reach for something sweet. But here's the shift. You don't have to give up sweetness. You just have to be strategic. If you really enjoy raisins, you can still have them, but pair them with nuts, Greek yogurt, or seeds. Why? Because combining raisins with healthy fat, fiber, or protein slows down the sugar absorption and helps keep your glucose more stable. And even better, consider replacing raisins with fresh berries or small pieces of apple with almond butter. These options satisfy your sweet tooth without pushing your blood sugar into chaos. So the next time you see a handful of raisins, remember, just because it's small doesn't mean it's innocent. In fact, this little dried fruit is one of the biggest hidden threats to your blood sugar. But raisins are just the beginning. If you think this was surprising, wait until you hear about fruit number 9, because it's even more common and it's sitting in almost every fruit basket. Number 9. Ripe mango. Let's move on to a fruit that many people absolutely love, especially in warmer climates. Ripe mango. It's juicy, fragrant, and almost addictive in its sweetness. It's used in smoothies, desserts, even eaten on its own like a treat. And while mango might look like the perfect tropical gift from nature, for people managing diabetes or blood sugar, it can be a dangerous trap. Here's why. As mangoes ripen, their sugar content increases significantly. What started as a moderately sweet fruit becomes a natural sugar bomb. A single ripe mango can contain over 45 grams of sugar, mostly from fructose and glucose, two natural sugars that hit your bloodstream quickly and raise glucose levels fast. Now, yes, mangoes contain fiber and beneficial nutrients like vitamin C, vitamin A, and antioxidants. But when it comes to glycemic impact, especially if you're insulin resistant or diabetic, the sweetness and portion size matter more than the vitamins. The glycemic index of ripe mango falls in the medium to high range, meaning it's digested and absorbed faster than fruits with lower sugar content or more fiber. And if you eat a whole ripe mango, especially on an empty stomach or without pairing it with protein or fat, your blood sugar can spike rapidly. That spike puts pressure on your pancreas to release more insulin, and if this becomes a habit, it leads to insulin resistance, fatigue, cravings, and even weight gain. Let's be real. Many of us were raised believing fruit is always good for us. You might have grown up eating ripe mangoes, straight from the tree, or with chili salt, and it felt like a wholesome, innocent pleasure. That emotional connection is powerful, and it's why this truth can feel disappointing. But it's not about guilt. It's about empowerment. When you understand how ripe mango affects your blood sugar, you gain the power to eat more wisely, without giving up what you love entirely. So here's the balanced approach. You don't need to completely eliminate mango from your life. Instead, eat a smaller amount, just a few slices instead of a whole fruit. Even better, combine it with a handful of almonds, chia seeds, or plain Greek yogurt to help slow down sugar absorption and keep your glucose more stable. And if you've ever felt tired, sluggish, or even dizzy after enjoying sweet fruits like mango, that's not your imagination. It's likely a blood sugar spike and crash effect, followed by early hunger and low energy. That's exactly the roller coaster we want to avoid. Mango can still be part of your life, but only when you're in the driver's seat, not when your cravings are. Managing diabetes doesn't mean eating bland food forever. It means learning how food actually works in your body. And speaking of sweet fruits that can mess with your glucose, the next one on the list might shock you, because it's small, delicious, and often praised as a healthy snack. But the truth is, it's one of the fastest ways to spike your blood sugar without realizing it. Let's talk about fruit number 8. Number 8, ripe banana. Now let's talk about one of the most familiar and convenient fruits out there, the ripe banana. It's easy to grab on the go, tastes sweet, and is often considered a perfect snack. But here's where we need to slow down and take a closer look, especially if you're living with diabetes or insulin resistance. As bananas ripen, something important happens. The complex starches in the fruit begin converting into simple sugars, mainly glucose and fructose. That's why a banana with bright yellow skin and a few brown spots tastes much sweeter than a green one. But sweetness isn't just about flavor. It's about glycemic impact. The riper the banana, the faster those sugars hit your bloodstream. And when you eat a fully ripe banana, especially on an empty stomach or without any protein or fat, your blood sugar can spike quickly and stay elevated longer than you expect. This becomes a big problem if you're already struggling with insulin resistance. Your body's ability to clear that sugar is already weakened, so the spike hits harder and the crash comes sooner. Let's be clear. Bananas aren't bad. In fact, they contain important nutrients like potassium, vitamin B6, and a bit of fiber. But what makes bananas tricky is that they're often eaten in isolation as a morning snack, post-workout boost, or even as a bedtime treat. That's when their medium to high glycemic index becomes dangerous. Instead of fueling your body evenly, they flood your system with sugar, and your pancreas scrambles to catch up. And here's where the emotional layer kicks in. You may have grown up being told that bananas are nature's energy bars. You may have watched family members give them to kids, elderly parents, or even eat one daily as a healthy routine. So when someone tells you that bananas might be harming your blood sugar, it can feel confusing, even upsetting. But remember, it's not about blame, it's about clarity. Once you understand how ripeness affects your body, you can make smarter decisions without giving up the foods you love. If you enjoy bananas, consider these 3 tips. Choose less ripe bananas. Greenish ones have more resistant starch and a lower glycemic load. Pair them with protein or fat like a boiled egg, Greek yogurt, or a tablespoon of peanut butter. Keep the portion small. Just half a banana might be enough to satisfy the craving without causing a sugar spike. This way, you're not banning the banana. You're controlling its impact. And when you do that consistently, your energy levels stay more balanced, your cravings reduce, and your blood sugar thanks you. But ripe bananas aren't the only healthy food playing tricks on your metabolism. Up next is a fruit often praised for its refreshing taste and tropical vibe, but what most people don't know is that it hits your blood sugar like a freight train. Let's talk about fruit number 7. Number 7, dried fig. Next up is a fruit that sounds innocent, even gourmet. Dried fig. It's chewy, naturally sweet, and often labeled as a better dessert alternative. People toss it into trail mix, slice it onto yogurt, or eat it straight from the bag thinking it's a smart, healthy snack. But what's hiding behind its wrinkled surface might surprise you. Here's the simple truth. Dried fig is sugar, packed tight. When fresh figs are dried, they lose most of their water, and what's left behind is a super concentrated form of natural sugar. Just a small serving, about 4 dried figs, can have over 25 grams of carbohydrates, almost all from glucose and fructose. That's as much sugar as a donut or a small slice of cake. But here's the tricky part. Because they're small and natural, people tend to eat them mindlessly. It's easy to eat 5, 6, or even 10 dried figs in one sitting, especially when you're craving something sweet. But doing so is like pouring spoonfuls of sugar into your bloodstream. That's a blood sugar spike waiting to happen. These spikes don't just make you feel tired, foggy, or hungry again in an hour. They do real damage over time. Every time your blood sugar jumps like that, your pancreas has to work overtime, pumping out insulin to bring it back down. If this happens regularly, especially in people with insulin resistance, it contributes to metabolic exhaustion, weight gain, and even pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. And emotionally, it feels unfair. You're trying to do better. You're avoiding candy bars, skipping sodas, cutting back on cookies, and yet, the very thing you chose to replace those sweets, the dried fig, is quietly doing the same kind of harm. That's frustrating. That's confusing. But it's also fixable. Because here's the good news. It's not about never eating dried figs again. It's about eating them smart. If you enjoy dried figs, treat them like you would a dessert, not a casual snack. Stick to 1 or 2 pieces, not handfuls, and always pair them with something like nuts, cheese, or Greek yogurt. This combination adds fat and protein, which slows down digestion and helps reduce the blood sugar spike. And be aware of the timing. Eating dried figs on an empty stomach or as a healthy bedtime snack? Not a great idea. Your body processes sugar faster when there's nothing else in your system, and that can lead to higher nighttime glucose levels, something every diabetic wants to avoid. So next time you reach for that handful of dried figs, pause and ask, am I nourishing my body or just feeding a craving disguised as health? Making that shift in awareness can completely transform how you relate to food. And if you thought dried figs were sugar bombs, wait until you hear about fruit number 6. It's often praised for being exotic and hydrating, but it hides a sugar load that can crash your blood sugar game fast. Let's dive into it. Number 6, date. Let's move on to a fruit that many believe is a true superfood, the date. It's soft, sweet, and often praised for its fiber, potassium, and ability to boost energy. In many cultures, dates are even considered a symbol of health and vitality. But for those living with diabetes or trying to keep blood sugar under control, this fruit can be a hidden danger. Here's why. Around 70% of a date's weight is pure sugar. Yes, you read that right. 7 out of every 10 grams is sugar, mostly glucose and fructose. That makes dates one of the most sugar-dense fruits on the planet. And because they're small, sticky, and delicious, they're incredibly easy to overeat. Pop 2, 3, maybe even 5 into your mouth, and suddenly you've consumed the sugar equivalent of a medium slice of chocolate cake. But it's not just the amount of sugar, it's also how fast your body absorbs it. Dates have a high glycemic index, which means the sugar they contain enters your bloodstream almost instantly. The result? A sharp spike in blood sugar, followed by a crash that leaves you feeling tired, moody, foggy, and hungry again. And that's how a well-intentioned snack can send you straight into the blood sugar roller coaster. For people with prediabetes, insulin resistance, or type 2 diabetes, these spikes are particularly harmful. They put strain on the pancreas, worsen insulin sensitivity, and contribute to inflammation, belly fat, and energy crashes. Over time, repeated spikes from foods like dates can make it harder and harder for your body to maintain any kind of glycemic balance. Now, emotionally, this one can feel like a betrayal. You're told to avoid cookies, pastries, soda, so you turn to dates. They're natural, right? Unprocessed, full of fiber. You're trying to make a better choice. But here's the truth. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's safe for everyone, especially not in large amounts. Dates are closer to a natural candy than a blood sugar-friendly fruit, and the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can start choosing smarter. That doesn't mean dates are evil or that you need to throw them out forever. It means you need a strategy. If you truly enjoy them, limit yourself to one small piece and pair it with healthy fat or protein, like a walnut or a smear of almond butter. This slows down the sugar absorption and makes the snack far more balanced. Also, avoid eating dates on an empty stomach or using them as a sugar substitute in large amounts. Even when they're blended into smoothies or energy balls, the sugar content can add up fast, especially if you're not paying attention. In short, treat dates like what they really are, a concentrated dessert, not a casual snack. And when you shift that mindset, you take control of your blood sugar, your cravings, and your energy levels. Now, if you think dates were dangerous, wait until you see fruit number 5. It's colorful, juicy, and often found in fruit salads and smoothies. But beneath that refreshing sweetness lies a blood sugar bomb most people never suspect. Let's get into it. If this video helped you, make sure to leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future health content that really matters. And don't forget to check the description below. I've listed some trusted health products that I personally stand by. These are carefully selected to support your blood sugar and overall wellness. Number 5. Pineapple. Now let's talk about a fruit that's bright, refreshing, and often seen as a perfect choice on a hot day. Pineapple. It's sweet, juicy, and packed with a unique enzyme called bromelain, which helps with digestion. Sounds like a win, right? But when it comes to blood sugar control, pineapple has a dark side most people don't see. Here's what you need to know. Pineapple has a high glycemic index, especially when it's fully ripe and ultra-sweet. That means the natural sugars inside this fruit get absorbed into your bloodstream very quickly, spiking your blood sugar levels within minutes of eating. And because pineapple is low in fiber, there's very little to slow down that sugar surge. So even though it's a fruit, its effect on your blood sugar can be just as harsh as a candy bar, especially when eaten alone or in large amounts. Now let's talk about a common misconception. Many people believe that because pineapple is natural, it must be harmless. After all, it's not processed, right? But here's the truth. Just because something comes from nature doesn't mean it's safe in every context or quantity. Sugar, even when it's natural, still behaves like sugar in your body, especially if your insulin response is already impaired. And this is one of the most frustrating parts for people managing diabetes. You're doing your best. You're avoiding soda, skipping desserts, eating more fruits. Then you have a bowl of pineapple thinking you're on the right track, only to feel tired, foggy, or even shaky an hour later. It's confusing, it feels unfair, but the issue isn't you. It's the lack of proper information about how fruits like pineapple actually affect your body. You're not failing, you just haven't been told the full story. Until now. So here's the solution. You don't have to give up pineapple completely, but you do need to be smart about when and how you eat it. Stick to small portions, no more than half a cup at a time. Never eat it on an empty stomach, as that allows the sugar to hit your bloodstream even faster. Pair it with a source of protein or healthy fat, like unsweetened Greek yogurt, a few almonds, or even a slice of cheese. These additions help slow the digestion and ease the glycemic impact. And if you're juicing pineapple or adding it to smoothies, be especially careful. because removing even more fiber turns pineapple into liquid sugar, which is digested at lightning speed. So yes, pineapple can still be part of a healthy lifestyle, but only when you're in control, not your cravings. With the right balance, you can still enjoy its flavor without sacrificing your blood sugar stability. Now, if pineapple shocked you, wait until you hear about fruit number 4. It's tiny, tasty, and often tossed into salads and yogurt. But it can cause sugar spikes so fast, it leaves even some doctors surprised. Let's break it down. Number 4, watermelon. Now let's shift to a fruit that screams summer. Watermelon. It's cool, juicy, and feels like the perfect way to stay refreshed on a hot day. With over 90% of its weight being water, it seems harmless, almost too light to cause any blood sugar problems. But here's where most people get it wrong. You see, the issue with watermelon isn't how much sugar it has overall. It's how fast that sugar hits your bloodstream. Watermelon has a high glycemic index, which means that even though the sugar content is moderate, your body absorbs it extremely quickly. The result? A sharp and sudden spike in blood glucose, often catching people off guard. But that's just the beginning. Watermelon is dangerously easy to overeat. Think about it. You slice a big piece, it goes down smooth. Then another. And another. Before you know it, you've eaten the equivalent of half a melon. And because watermelon is low in fiber and fat, there's nothing to slow down that sugar from rushing straight into your system. This is where many diabetics or pre-diabetics fall into a trap. They think it's just watermelon, it's healthy. But when you eat too much of it, or eat it alone, you're creating a blood sugar storm. One that might leave you feeling tired, bloated, or ravenously hungry just an hour later. And emotionally, this feels like another disappointment. Watermelon brings back childhood memories, backyard barbecues, good times with family. It doesn't feel fair that something so innocent could work against your health. But again, it's not about labeling food as good or bad. It's about learning how it really behaves inside your body. So what can you do? First, control the portion. Stick to just a few cubes, not giant wedges. Second, never eat it alone. Pair it with a few almonds, a spoon of peanut butter, or a hard-boiled egg. That protein and fat helps slow down sugar absorption. And third, avoid eating it late at night or right after fasting, when your blood sugar is most sensitive. Watermelon isn't the enemy, but like so many fruits, it can become one if you're not intentional. Especially for people managing diabetes or insulin resistance, it's critical to stop looking at fruit as automatically healthy and start seeing it through the lens of glycemic control. And if watermelon surprised you, fruit number 3 might shock you even more. It's often seen as a natural detox food and praised for hydration and weight loss. Yet it can wreak havoc on blood sugar if you're not careful. Let's uncover it next. Number 3, persimmon. Let's now talk about a fruit that looks like candy and tastes even sweeter. Persimmon. With its shiny skin, soft flesh, and melt-in-your-mouth texture, it's no wonder many people reach for more than one. Especially when it's ripe, persimmon feels like nature's dessert, rich, comforting, and dangerously easy to overeat. But when it comes to blood sugar control, this fruit is far from innocent. Here's what makes persimmon a red flag. It's packed with natural sugars, especially glucose and fructose. And unlike firmer fruits that offer more fiber, ripe persimmon becomes low in fiber, making it extremely fast to digest and absorb. That means the sugars hit your bloodstream quickly, causing a rapid rise in blood glucose, often within minutes. This makes persimmon one of the sneakiest triggers for sugar spikes among all fruits. What makes it worse is how it's usually eaten. Rarely does anyone stop at just one. You might grab 2, 3, even 4 without thinking, because they're soft, comforting, and feel healthy. But those few bites can quickly add up to a massive sugar load, sending your pancreas into overdrive, as it scrambles to release enough insulin to bring glucose levels down. If you're someone dealing with prediabetes, insulin resistance, or full-blown type 2 diabetes, that's a serious problem. Your body is already struggling to manage sugar efficiently, and persimmon just pours fuel on the fire. The result? That familiar crash after the high. fatigue, brain fog, and cravings that hit hard, leading you back into another cycle of overeating. And emotionally, it feels like a betrayal. You're choosing fruit instead of donuts. You're trying to nourish yourself, and yet here comes persimmon. Natural, but metabolically aggressive, undoing your hard work in just a few bites. But that doesn't mean you have to give it up forever. It just means you need to be smart. If you love persimmon, enjoy it only occasionally and never on an empty stomach. Always pair it with a healthy fat or protein, like a few walnuts, a piece of cheese, or plain yogurt to slow down sugar absorption. And most importantly, stick to half or one small fruit, not several in one sitting. Because when you shift from eating emotionally to eating strategically, you're not only protecting your blood sugar, you're regaining control over your health. Now, as powerful as persimmon's impact can be, fruit number 2 is even more surprising. It's praised for being tiny and antioxidant rich, but when it comes to glucose control, it might just be your biggest blind spot. Let's explore it now. Number 2, orange. Now let's talk about a fruit that most people see as a symbol of health, the orange. It's bright, refreshing, and famous for being packed with vitamin C and antioxidants. For years, oranges have been promoted as the perfect choice for boosting immunity, fighting colds, and starting your day off right. But if you're someone trying to manage blood sugar, there's a side of this fruit you really need to understand. Here's the truth. While oranges are natural and nutrient-rich, they're also loaded with simple sugars, particularly fructose and glucose. And the biggest danger? How oranges are usually consumed. When you squeeze an orange to make juice, you remove all the fiber, the very thing that slows down sugar absorption. What you're left with is a glass of liquid sugar, even though it came from fruit. And because it's in liquid form, that sugar gets absorbed almost instantly, causing a rapid and intense spike in blood glucose levels. It might feel healthier than drinking soda, but in terms of how it affects your body, orange juice can hit your system just as hard. Even when eaten whole, oranges still carry a moderate glycemic index. But the issue becomes more serious when you eat 2 or 3 oranges at once, a common habit. In that case, the glycemic load, which combines how fast and how much sugar enters your bloodstream, becomes significant. And for people with pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, or full-blown diabetes, that can be a real problem. What makes it even trickier is the citric acid in oranges. While it's great for flavor and even digestion in some cases, studies suggest that in certain people, the combination of fructose and citric acid may temporarily increase insulin resistance, making it harder for your cells to respond to insulin properly. That means your blood sugar stays elevated longer, putting even more pressure on your already struggling metabolic system. And emotionally, it's confusing. Oranges are everywhere, in school lunches, hotel breakfasts, morning routines. You might have grown up thinking that a glass of orange juice was the healthiest way to start the day, so hearing that it could actually be harmful for blood sugar feels unfair. But again, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming your power through knowledge. So how do we do that? Stick to eating whole oranges and limit yourself to 1 at a time. Never drink orange juice, even if it's freshly squeezed. Pair the fruit with fat or protein, like a few almonds or a boiled egg, to reduce the glycemic spike. This way, you still enjoy the taste and benefits of oranges without setting off the blood sugar roller coaster. And now, we've reached fruit number 1, the single worst fruit for blood sugar control. It's sweet, it's small, and it's probably hiding in your kitchen right now. Let's reveal it. Number 1, peaches in syrup. We've now arrived at the worst fruit for blood sugar control. And honestly, it's not even close. Peaches in syrup may look like fruit, smell like fruit, and even be labeled as fruit. But let's call it what it really is, a sugar-loaded dessert pretending to be healthy. Here's the deal. Not only do these peaches carry their natural sugars, but during the canning process they're soaked in syrup, a thick, concentrated liquid made of refined sugar or high-fructose corn syrup. That means by the time you scoop just 2 peach halves onto your plate, you're already consuming more sugar than you'd find in many store-bought desserts, including some cakes, pastries, or even candy bars. It's shocking but true. What seems like a sweet and innocent snack is actually a glycemic time bomb. Why? Because the syrup sugar is highly processed and easily absorbed. The moment it hits your digestive system, it spikes your blood sugar almost instantly. There's no buffer, no slowing down. And for someone with diabetes or pre-diabetes, that kind of spike can be dangerous, leading to energy crashes, inflammation, insulin resistance, and over time, damage to your organs. Even worse, the fiber is gone. Unlike fresh peaches, which offer some natural fiber to help slow down sugar absorption, canned peaches in syrup have been stripped of most of that fiber. So not only are you eating more sugar, but you're losing the very thing that could have softened the impact. That's like taking the brakes off a speeding car. And emotionally, this one hits hard. Because let's be honest, peaches in syrup often show up in family gatherings, holiday meals, hospital trays, or quick desserts. They're part of our routines, sometimes even our comfort foods. So realizing they're this harmful can feel overwhelming. But here's the truth. It's not about guilt. It's about awareness. If you've been eating canned peaches thinking they were a better choice, you didn't fail. You were misled. But now you have the knowledge, and with that comes the power to make smarter, kinder choices for your body. So what should you do? If you really enjoy peaches, go for the fresh ones. In moderation. If you must use cans, look for in-water or no added sugar options, and even then, limit the quantity. Better yet, swap them for lower glycemic fruits like berries or kiwi, which still satisfy your sweet tooth without causing a blood sugar explosion. Because at the end of the day, managing your health isn't about perfection. It's about consistently choosing what supports your energy, your balance, and your future. Now that we've revealed the 10 worst fruits for blood sugar, let's tie everything together and talk about what you can do starting today to protect your health naturally and confidently. Let's move into the final part of this video. If you've made it this far, take a deep breath, because what you've just learned can change everything. You now know which fruits may be quietly spiking your blood sugar and making your journey with diabetes harder than it needs to be. That alone puts you ahead of the game. But even more important, you now have the power to choose differently. Not perfectly, but wisely. Managing your blood sugar doesn't mean cutting out joy, flavor, or everything you love. It simply means learning how your body responds to different foods and making choices that support your health, not sabotage it. That's real progress. So start small. Reduce your intake of high glycemic fruits and lean into blood sugar-friendly options like avocados, berries, green apples, and lemons. Pair fruits with protein or healthy fats. Be mindful, but never afraid. You deserve to feel good in your body, to wake up with energy, and to live each day without the fear of hidden sugar spikes stealing your health. And if this video helped you, don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen to learn about the one drink that flushes sugar and supports blood sugar naturally. Subscribe for more real, honest, and helpful content. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're here to help. Take care of yourself. Your future self will thank you.